This is Danny with QuadLugs, and today we're going to be building the Mini 250 version 2. So it's a little bit different than the original. In the original, the body support lugs go together this way. With the version 2, they go together like this. So there's not much of a difference, but what it does, it reduces the height on the version 2 by 13 millimeters, approximately ½ inch, maybe to half to 5/8 of an inch. So the comparison between the two is, something like this to this. So it's quite a bit of, no, not quite a bit, but it's a degree of difference in height. So, it gives you a choice. So, first of all, the body support lugs need to be glued together, and what I normally do is kind of clean the top of it off, because if you do the version 2, you're going to be getting the body support lugs without the alignment dimples. They're smooth on top, and they do have, a few little I guess it's flashing or whatever they call it, that sticks up. So you do need to scrape it off, and you may be able to see it there. And that's just to give it a nice smooth fit. So we're going to do that right now. And we'll be done with that. Okay. Now we're going to glue these together and let them start drying. I've already completed these. So we'll go ahead and put some, using some thick CA. And this stuff sets up pretty quick, so you got to be, pretty fast on aligning it. So I think that looks pretty good right there. And then after you do that, you have to get the residue off, the part that oozed out when you put it together. And of course the stuff off the CA off your fingers if you're like me. That looks pretty good on that one. We're going to put that aside and let it start drying, and we're going to go ahead and do this one. Now what I normally do is, when I smooth off the top a little bit, I'll just scrape it a little bit. There you go. Gives it a little bit better binding area. Go ahead and get some put on there. And once again, we want to try to get these lined up as quick as possible, because it does start setting up really quick. It looks pretty good. Now all I've done is made sure, this is smooth here, and this is. So I'm just kind of pressing it together for a little while. And we're good to get my finger unstuck and then set it aside to let it dry. Okay. Now we're going to be putting these are 3D printed, the bumpers. We are in the process of the tooling being done on a few molds, and what's going to happen when that's done, and this is going to be for the version 2 and the original, the pieces are going to be shipped out looking like this. They're all going to be made in one, so there's no more gluing. Everything is set up for you. So when you get these, you gets moving with the wood and putting it together. And this is going to be the back, and that's going to be the front. And again, they're going to be for the original and the version 2. So that's in the process, and you know, it's a couple of months out for sure, about 2 months out. So what we'll do though in the meantime, you know, these are our standard parts, which are injection molded, and these bumpers temporarily are being 3D printed. So right now, until the other parts come out, we have to glue these on. And this is, you can do it after it's built and then glue them on, but I'm finding it's easier to do it prior to it being put together, or the wood being put together or onto it. And the reason being, it gives you a real good way to line up your plywood or your flat wood. So we're going to go ahead and put it together or glue them on now. So we're going to go ahead and do the front first. And what we're going to do, we're going to line it up, you know, center this way. And we're going to give about 3 millimeter hanging down on the bottom and the top, or the width of a piece of flat wood. And we'll go over that in just a second. So I'll go ahead and make sure we have good coverage, and we do. And I'm going to get it pretty much in the middle. And we'll go ahead and check and see how we're looking this way. And that looks pretty good. And we'll just make sure, my finger got stuck in here. We'll just make sure that it's centered up there. And kind of press it down for a second. And again, we're going to make sure it's centered. And everything looks pretty good. So we're going to set this aside and let it continue drying. There we go. And we'll go ahead and do the next one. Be really convenient when the parts are finished up, the new lugs, you know, with everything all made in one. I think you'll like it. It's not going to give you the opportunity to do 2 different colors on one like we're doing now, but it's certainly going to be a lot easier. I say a lot easier. It'll be easier to put together. Gluing these on is not a big deal. Seems like some of them are a little bit more challenging than others, but all in all, they work out pretty good. Looks pretty good. We're going to let this one go ahead and dry up. Wow, sorry about that. That took long enough, didn't it? So while we're letting all this dry up, and I'm cleaning my fingers off, we're going to go ahead and get started with some of this wood. You're going to get your 2 pieces of 8.5 inch long, and that's half by half basswood. And you know, if you've been watching the videos, you know we use basswood on everything. This is a flat wood. You'll get 7 inch by 3 inch, and again, this is basswood. And we're going to cut it down to 2 1/4 inches. I've already done these 2 pieces, and we'll go ahead and do this one. We're going to cut it down to 2 1/4. And this cuts pretty easy this way. It's with the grain on this one, so it's not too bad of a cut. Well, none of them really are. But I guess I could say this is super easy. Okay. So we have our wood cut, and we'll go ahead and mark the center line of these. We'll make sure they're good on either side. That's a little premature. So we have 8.5 inches, so we're going to go for 1 1/4. And then we'll do our 1 1/8 one way and our 2 1/4 the other way. And that's going to achieve our center line and where we're going to put our lugs when we slide them on. And we'll do some final adjustments after that. But it's a very good starting point. Okay, we have the wood together, and we're going to go ahead and let this continue drying. In fact, I think this is dried enough. We can go ahead and put our back pieces on, our back bumpers on. And we're going to do the same way. We're going to center it up and in here on this, and then we're going to give us our, approximately 3 millimeters on each side, the top and the bottom rather. And that's going to be for our flat wood. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get this centered up. That looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and check our fit this way, and that looks pretty good, and that looks pretty good. Good. Okay, we're going to let this start drying. And we're going to do the same thing here with our other back piece. And Cap's had better days, hasn't it? And we're going to go ahead and we're looking for about 3 millimeters on the top and the bottom. The width of it's 1/8 inch flat wood that we use on all of these. Pretty good. And again in the center. Now we're going to let that dry. Okay, I'm going to get this stuff off my hands, and we're going to let this glue dry up. And before we're going to take a little break here in a second while this dries up, and we'll be back to finish up. Before we do, I'll drill the motor mounts. Now if you watch the videos, you'll know that there's a circle here, and that's where there's a pin, I guess, that pushes these out of the mold when they're injected. And when you have them in your hand, you'll see there's a center point on that circle, and it makes it real easy to find the center to drill your 1/8 inch, using an 1/8 inch bit to drill your 1/8 inch hole. Super easy to do. Okay. So we have these prepped, and we're going to take a break and let this glue dry for 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, it looks like everything's nice and dry. Now we're going to, there's a little bit of flashing, or flash rather, that, and you can actually pull it off with your fingers on these, and we want to take that off now. But just a little bit. Some of them have it and some of them don't. And good, we got them all clean. Okay. We had marked our wood, and we're going to go ahead and do the front. See if we can get this, slide them in, and we'll push it to our line. We'll adjust that a little bit after a while. And this is the front, and the wood goes in this bottom one here, or in the one with this tab on it, and we're going to call that the bottom. Get this pushed on. And needs a little bit more. Push it back up to that line. There we go. And this ought to give us 2 1/4, and that's outside to outside here. We're going to do the same thing for our back, and this being the bottom. Some of the wood depends on humidity. You know, some of it's a little bit tighter than others, but it'll go on. And if it's not this tight, that's okay, because once you put the screws in, it locks it together. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to line it up with our line that we had put on. Everything looks pretty good. And again, we're going to measure this one. We're looking pretty good. Now we should have approximately 3 inches here, 3 inches there, 3, and 3. A little bit more on this. There we go. Okay, this is going to be the front. This is going to be the back. So we're ready to turn it over and start our wood. The wood's going to, if you are not using the bumpers, because you don't have to, this can be, you know, flat in front. In fact, that's how they started out to be. But if you don't put the bumpers on, the front of this body support lug is going to, you know, go flush with the front of the wood and then the side with the side. This just putting it on early just makes it a little bit easier to line them up. So we want to make sure this is flush on the side and that we're pushed all the way up. And we're just going to double check it here and see, or do a little trial run here and see how we are with square. That's going to put a square there, so a little bit off right here, no big deal, or my wood might be a little bit off square, and that's what it is. No problem. I'll go ahead and trim that up right now. And good to dry fit these, as with anything, just to make sure it's all looking good. And again, we're going to double check this and see where we come up square. And that's going to look pretty good right there. So let's get one side done, and we're going to make sure. Let me just go ahead and hand these a little bit. There we go. Good. So we'll get one started here. We're going to line that up right there. Again, we're going to make sure that the wood is where we wanted it, and we're checking the line there. We're good. We're going to go ahead and use a 1/16 inch bit. Well, first, before we do that, let's go ahead and put us some marks here. And we'll get this ready. And what I'm doing, I'm lining it up here, the center there. We're going to do the same here. And like I said, it's probably better to measure this and use a ruler, you know, to get your line, but we'll see how I do like this. And again, it's probably better measuring. We're going to go ahead and get our 1/8 inch bit and do our hole through the flatwood, and this is going to not only give us a place to know where to drill, but it's going to keep this wood from splitting. Okay. I'm going to sand the back side a little bit. Need to change my sandpaper here. So, I'll go ahead and make sure this is smooth on this side. And we're going to get our 1/16 inch bit. And I'll go ahead and drill this one through. Now we're going through the plastic and we're drilling our pilot hole into the wood. We're going to use a 5/8 long screw in this. We're going to get this one in first. And as I always say, if you're using a big drill, which I do not recommend, it's better to use a small drill. But if you're using a big one and you're putting these screws in with it, just, you know, be careful with it. You can actually pull the screws right straight through the wood if you don't watch it. But if you use it, just stop short and of it being tight, and you can finish it off by hand. Move this one over just a little bit. And what I'm doing, I'm moving it over a little bit so it's nice and flush with the side. Now we're going to go ahead and check our square again, just see if we need to make any changes. And that looks pretty good there. And that looks really good there. So we're going to go ahead and we'll we'll make sure this is, you know, flush here. It is. There we go. Again, use a 5/8 long screw. And these are number 4 by 5/8. And with a washer, and again, all this is with the kit, and you'll have plenty of screws, so we almost double the amount of screws that you'll need. But if you ever do have to go hunting for them, they're pretty common screws. You can get them at, you know, pretty much any hardware store or your local hobby shop. Now we just want to check this and make sure we're okay there. So I'm going to move this one a little bit. And that's pretty good. We're going to make sure this is flush here with the side. And it's pushed up all the way against the bumper there, as we call them. Okay, and then we're going to drill our 1/8 inch pilot hole. Okay, and then once again we use a 5/8 and a washer, 5/8 long. And, you know, as with all QuadLugs, I mean, especially with using the wood. Now, we have a carbon series coming out where the arms are going to be, we have a direct replacement for the square wood. We can change that to carbon. But when you're using wood, if you have any breakage, you know, it's easy to fix, and as I always say, it won't break the bank when you do it. I'm going to move this one out just a little bit to be flush. There we go. That looks pretty good. We're going to check square. Square. Make sure it's at a right angle or at 90 degrees. And that's looking really good. So we're flush with the side. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but nice and close makes it look real good. Drill our pilot hole. Again, 5/8 with a washer, 5/8 long with a washer. You have to excuse the background noise. It's very hot today, 97 today. So we have the air conditioning going in the shop for sure. Okay. And I'm going to check for alignment this way between this one and that one. You want to make sure that you're putting it together on a nice level surface, because if not, it can take the form of whatever you're laying it on, and you could have something that's skewed. So, excuse me. We'll see what the top looks like. That looks like it's going to fit very well. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then we'll measure this one, just so when we get this middle piece in, it doesn't, push these apart and give us a bad fit. So we'll go ahead and measure this again. And once again, we're getting the center of this. or rather, you know, the center of this also. And the center this way. We'll see if I can do this again. Once again, it's probably a lot easier just to measure it, put your mark on and measure it, and put you another mark and go ahead and use a straight edge. But we might have been successful one more time. Again, we're going to drill our 1/8 inch hole. Sand this and get this cleaned up. I normally paint it after I get it put together. I just, take it apart, and then after it's all finished, put together, or after the frame is done, I take it apart, making sure that each piece is, I keep orientation of it so it goes back on easy. And then I paint it, and then I put it back together. That's just the way I do it. Obviously, you can for sure paint it prior and then put it together. That's just how I do it though. And here on this top one, we're going to use 3/8 inch long screws. So that's number 4 by 3/8, again with a washer. We're going to go diagonal here and drill a hole. Put this one in 3/8 inch long with a washer. And I'm just going to drill these 2 holes because I'm going to pull this plate off here to put my next deck on. And the deck we're going to put on next is underneath this one, and that's where we're going to always mount that's where we're going to mount our ESC. Let me go ahead and put this in here. Now again, you can measure this, but I'm just going to put myself a mark right there. And I'm going to get this cut. And again, on our wood series, everything that we build with is basswood, flat plates and the square. There we go. And we'll trim this up. It's a real good wood, and it's worked real good for me on these, and I think you'll like it. It takes paint real well, and wow, CA is like its best friend. So we'll go ahead and take this off and see how this fits. Let's trim just a little bit off of there. I want to make sure that this is nice and square. We're going to take just a little bit off. I'm going to use the metal. I don't want to ruin my little square. Not like that thing. Okay. That looks really good. Okay. We're going to do the same thing and give ourselves a reference mark for the center, and we're doing it for the center of these tabs. Okay. We're going to use again an 1/8 inch bit. X marks the spot, as I always say. I'm going to go ahead and drill these through. There we go. And it's amazing how tough these minis are. Well, all of the QuadLugs are super tough, but I'm telling you, these, these things are going to naturally take more of a beating than a normal quad, and we can take it. It's pretty amazing. Now, I normally do not put a washer here. You will have them in the kit, so feel free to put them on. Can't hurt. And we're going to go diagonally again. Make sure these are, nice and smooth on the sides. These go together really easy, and they're really easy to repair if they get tore up. I tell you, they'll take a lot though. And wow, when we get the tooling completed and we have the molds for our new lugs with the bumpers made onto them, no more gluing, and I tell you what, it makes a real nice system. Okay, it's looking really good. I'm just checking again to make sure it's not getting skewed or anything, and it's not. It looks good. And we have the top going back on, and again, it's always better to put these on, by hand. Good deal. We'll check for alignment here. Looks really good. Looks good. We'll go ahead and put our motor mounts on. And we're putting them flush with the wood. We're just going to kind of double check here. Looks good. You'll find that I double check quite a bit as I go. Just a lot easier than after it's all said and done. You go, oh, I gotta make a change. Using a 16th inch bit here for our pilot hole. And again, we're going to use 5/8 long screws for this. And we'll go ahead and use our drill for this. Almost done. Leave that on there. And tidy this up just a hair bit. I'm going to paint it here in a second. We're going to have a picture of it at the end of this video. Show you what it looks like. But this is the frame finished. And you know, we'll also in the kit you'll have a piece of Velcro, actually a couple pieces. And you know, to cover this whole top as I do normally, so I can put my battery here and Mobius up here. And this is purple. With clear or semi-clear, transparent bumpers on it, and that's it. So we're done with the frame, and the next video coming out for the version 2 build is going to be our electronics install, and we'll be using a 4-in-1. And getting Sunny Sky motors put on this. We're going to be using 2204, 2300 kVs. So this is Danny with QuadLugs. We'll see you real soon on the next one. In fact, on the electronics for the version 2. Take care.